Good afternoon all. Hope we're all good, and the start of the week has been pretty cruisy. Fortunately for me, I've got a bit of time off, so I'm going to, as most of you know, get the little HJ together, that little girl over there. Now, a lot of people have asked me over the few years, Lee, can you do some videos? Well, it's not really me. I watch a lot of them, learn a lot from them. However, never thought I'd be the character to do it. However, I'm going to give it a crack. Look, and at the end of the day, there's 10 different ways to do the same job. I'm still young. Been doing it for 33 years, but still young. But I've learned things to do and to go my way, and they work my way. So I keep to my way. Now, I'm building this little stroker motor for the HJ. Now, what I was going to do is basically just do some pointers. Just some little things that people get a bit funny with or get a bit lost in. So from studs to head heights, piston heights, degreeing in a cam. So what I've decided to do is I'm actually going to do little quick vids while I put this engine together. And you guys can just sit back and enjoy it, have a laugh, think like you're dreaming or whatever you like to say. But it's a bit of fun. And I'll give it a crack. So today is the first one. I'm putting some main studs in this block for the crank. So it's a stroker, 383, originally 350. So nothing massive. However, strength is always a good plan, especially for longevity. Now, originally they came out with a bolt. Okay, so 716 stud, basically, UNC. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Bolt head, nothing wrong with them. They go forever and ever. I've never seen one break. However, they're rated a little bit lower than a stud. So this is a 716 ARP stud, all right? So good old ARP. I use this in all my performance engines, all of them, and I've never, ever, ever had an issue yet, all right? Touch wood. I'm touching my head as we speak. Anyway, so I'm going to show you the quick way to put these studs in, because people seem to misunderstand that you basically need to screw the stud in and you have a blind hole, okay? Now, if you screw that stud in all the way to the bottom and then think you're going to do up the nut, that nut can pick up the thread, turn the stud, and can actually break through the blinding and cause cracks in the casting. Now, I've actually seen that before, many years ago, in the old Detroit. Also had a Detroit head stud that had a similar thing. Now, most manufacturers now design things so that the actual threaded boss that the stud goes into is actually quite long, and the stud is not long enough to bottom out in the bottom of that hole, okay? So I'm going to show you my way of fitting a stud, knowing that you can't stuff it up either way, and you'll never ever have an issue with potentially cracking the block. And we've got to remember too, if we install a stud into a hole, we use a lubricant. Now that lubricant can go down inside the hole and it can sit in the bottom. So if we're screwing a stud in and we've got no clearance at the bottom, what do you think that might happen? Where's the oil or that lubricant going to go? So that's what we call hydraulic compression, all right? And that alone is a huge force at itself. And that can, well, I've seen that happen too. I've actually done a bit of damage myself. But cracking the block, and that was the end of it. But it was actually a valve block. It wasn't an engine block, lucky. So anyway, basic, very basic. I've pre-lubed this stud. Everything's got to be lubed for a hole, all right? It makes it easy to go in. It stops it from seizing up, and it makes it easier to get it out when you want to pull it out, all right? So very simple, okay? Hand tight. Now, I've got my little 5mm Allen key here, so I'm just going to screw that all the way in, all right? I've got all day, but I'm going to be quick because I don't want it to be a long vid. So screw it down until it bottoms out, all right? So to make sure we're all the way down, just go back, come back again, back again. Now, I can't go anymore, so that's it. Now, the rule of thumb, half a turn back, all right? That's where we're going to stop it. So half a turn back, stud is not in the bottom of the hole. Now I'm just going to hold that stud because I can, and then I'm going to, sorry for the shake in the camera. All right, and I'm just going to lock that off there, and then I'm going to tension it. All right, so lock it off there so the stud can't move. All right, there we go there. Now, tensioning. I don't have a fancy angulometer, and I don't have a tension wrench with a fancy angulometer on it either. So I'm going to go old school, the trusty snap-on. Okay, now the end result needs to be 80 foot-pound. All right, ARP says 80 foot-pound. Where is it? There you go, 80. Now, I'm going to split that. I always split it. So the end result needs to be 80. I'm going to start with 20. So it's nice and even and brings it down nicely. And then I double it, which brings me to 40. Right, tension it to 40. And then I'll double it again, brings us to 80. So we couldn't get any even than that. All right, so we'll do that. I'll grab that one, grab this one. So I'm going to preset this one to 80. There we go. Where are we? 80. There, that one's ready to go. And then we'll have to get the other one, 3/8, because my big one doesn't go down to 20, which is what we want. So we got 20. Okay, there we go. So if you're not sure if that stud has turned on you or not, there's a very basic trick, and that is the magic marker. All right, so I'm going to go at 3 o'clock position. All right, mark it to the side of the cap. All right, 3 o'clock. Now, once I tension that nut and that mark's moved, well, guess what? Stud's moved. So here we go. So I'll go 20. Click. Then I'm going to go up to 40, because remember we're doubling 20 to 40. And then we're going to go to 80 with the big girl. So, 40. Let's crack that off. Oh, a bit tighter. There we go, 40. Now, we'll go to the big girl, which is 80. All right. There we go, cracked off. So let's see if that stud's moved. Well, it actually has. It's moved, maybe about 8 degrees. It's hard to see, but from my camera perspective, see, it's not at 3 o'clock, it's a little bit below the line. All right, so that tells you that studs will stretch and the nuts pick it up, and they will push down. So in this case, if I had that stud and I wound it all the way into the block, and then I did that, that stud had to go somewhere, which would have been pressuring on the inside of the casing, on the hole. And that's what I'm talking about. Bad, all right? So anyway, with studs, when they're new, they do stretch a little bit. So I'm going to do this procedure 3 times, and then I'll know, because if we tension all these up, and we leave it and the engine runs on its first run, these potentially can come loose, all right? Because they are a new bolt, they need to be tensioned and loosened 5 times till they can't stretch anymore, and then we're good to go. So, all right, it's as simple as that, all right? So, stud into a hole, back it off half. If you want to go a turn, no problems at all right? It's not going to hurt, but always do a marker if you're not sure, because then you'll see whether that stud has turned. All right, guys. Well, there's a little bit of info for you. I will hopefully tonight do finding top dead center. All right. So we'll put piston number 1 in, and I'll check the deck height, and we'll make sure that it is perfect. And we'll put the camshaft in there, and then what I'll do is I'll do a degreeing a camshaft properly. Because I have had 3 crane cams now where they were out from machining from factory. One was about 2.2 degrees and the other one was 3 degrees, which is quite a lot. So it's more important, very imperative to check it these days. All right, very, very straightforward job. All right, well, until then, adios. Enjoy whatever you're doing. and I'll see you again. Cheerio.